talk some football now. John McMullen, 97.3 ESPN.com. John, are you
Thunder
back?
Rockets, 8:30 Saturday night.
Thunder
Good luck.
Rockets. You
Good
going
luck.
Thunder Rockets or Orlando Atlanta in the AAF?
First of all, Aaron Murray never got a chance. He was here for a cup of coffee. He almost married that old Fox TV, not old, it's very fetching, Fox TV traffic reporter. I can't think of her name. Aton, you're a Fox. You remember the old traffic reporter? Aaron Murray was engaged to her for a very long time.
And she then, moved out to Georgia to Denver with him.
Kansas City.
Kansas City, thanks.
Yeah.
Wait, Aaron Murray played for the Eagles?
Yeah, and John's right. Wow, what was her name? She was something else.
I cannot think of it. She went to Villanova, and I can't, the name escapes.
By the way, text message, I'm 100% in on AAF.
That's absurd, but God bless
Casey McDonald, sir.
Casey McDonald, yes.
Yeah, they're 100% in until week 5. They're doing anything else but
You're
watching
giving them
the
5
AAF.
weeks of that?
I just threw a number out there. 2 games, 3 games.
I'll tell you what.
Well, I mean,
calling
it's
everyone's
minor
bluff.
league football, so anybody who likes football. I like football. I'll probably watch some AAF, but I mean, are you going to watch, Scranton Wilkes-Barre against whoever, Adirondack? I mean,
they're not in the league.
It's minor league.
They're not in the league. Come on.
I'm saying minor league baseball. I'm using that as that's
no,
what
but
it is.
Let me ask you this
football.
question. Let me ask you this question about the league. The XFL last time, they just tried to rush it and get it on television. NBC wanted a football product. Has the AAF, do they have a better plan? Is it better thought out? Does it have a shot to at least have mild interest?
Yeah, I think they have a better plan. I mean, Vince McMahon is in charge of the other league, and he already tried it once, and it was a disaster. So I think Charlie Ebersol, who is the son of Dick Ebersol, who was Vince McMahon's partner in the original XFL, kind of, if you remember, he did that 30 for 30 documentary on ESPN, and he kind of learned from the mistakes, and the biggest mistake was sort of the showmanship that Vince tried to bring professional football, which it doesn't work in real sports. I mean, people don't want that, and I think Charlie has a better indication that it's got to be serious football. But at the end of the day, and I've said this from the start, and the XFL is trying to be more serious as well this time around, but there's always going to be that stain from the original. I just don't think, and history has proven this in every sport, that American society does not support minor leagues, at least on a big-time level.
Well, and it says here is that it's not trying to compete with the NFL, it's trying to build a business. They want to be a feeder to the NFL. So if that message is out from the get-go, is that a positive message? Or are you walking off the plank from the start?
I think you're walking off the plank. I mean, look, minor leagues that work are feeder systems, but they're feeder systems that are subsidized, like the G League and in the NBA and minor league baseball. As I said, they're subsidized by the big teams. Now, ultimately, if the NFL, and they're getting involved in, at least on a cursory level, broadcasting and presumably paying a little bit of money for certain games, if they get involved and want a minor league system and subsidize it, it could work that way. But I don't think it could work on its own and deliver significant profits to where at some point people start looking at the dollars and cents and they say, well, this is crazy. We're just not going to make any money.
By the way, this just got better. Aaron Murray, you know who the offensive coordinator is for the Atlanta Legends?
Michael Vick.
Michael Vick is the offensive coordinator.
Is he playing?
You know who was the head coach and he already walked away? Brad Childress.
Oh, wait, he's out of there?
Get to week 1. Yeah, he's out of there.
They got Childress out of there already?
He's fired.
Good move.
Fired? They didn't play a game yet.
He didn't fire. I think he left. He just retired, or I don't know. He was doing some work for the Bears as well. with Matt Nagy. Maybe he's got sort of a consultancy job, but he didn't get fired. He just walked away before week 1.
By the way, if you were in Atlanta, they'll be playing there at the old Turner Field. That's going to be the new home stadium of the Atlanta Legends team. So they're actually, they're playing the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Sun Devil Stadium in Phoenix. So, Liberty Bowl, Legion Field. It's got a very XFL feel to it. But they're it's on CBS Sports Network. It's going to be on TNT. One regular season game. It's going to be on the NFL Network. So for people out there who want to continue with your football, you will have football this weekend. It starts Saturday night on CBS, the first game, and then TNT has games, NFL Network has games. There's a bunch of games that you can keep watching. They've actually got some interesting rules in the game, too, so you'll be checking that out. But I do want to get John.
That's what we need, more rules.
Well, we'll see how their officials are. Maybe the NFL can find some guys who know what they're doing.
Maybe repetition helps. I always say that. So I would advocate, we talk about a feeder system, from a referee standpoint, maybe that helps more from that aspect to have those guys continuing to do games if they could set that up somehow, because I think that would work. But you would also need similar rules. Obviously, you can't have a different brand of football or that's not going to help.
All right, John, are you back from yet?
Yeah, finally back. My dog's barking in the background. It's like old times.
He's excited for you. All right. So while you were down there covering the Super Bowl, a couple of things happened up in these parts. Carson Wentz sat down with a hand-picked assembled media and basically gave his side of the whole Joe Santalaquita story. Number one, if you're Carson Wentz, are you sitting down and telling your side of the story? Or are you letting that thing go?
The Eagles made a mistake, and if Brett Strosacker's listening, he's going to be getting an email today because I got a lot of complaints about people that were invited and people that were not invited. And I'm the vice president of the PFWA in Philadelphia, so I think the Eagles came off and did it poorly, because then it comes into question, well, what are you trying to hide? Are you trying to handpick guys you think are going to be favorable? And I don't think that's what happened, because I just think they went with the most high-profile outlets, and certainly Jeff McClain isn't going to be kowtowing for the Eagles. I'll tell you that right off the bat. So I don't think it's true, but perception is often greater than reality, and the perception's out there. You've seen it in numerous places from some pretty high-profile people that are saying the Eagles are trying to drive this with reporters they think they can control, and that makes the organization looks bad. From Carson's standpoint, he basically validated what Joe wrote. Now, there were still mistakes from Joe. He should have worked harder to get a Carson side of the story and the team side and given them more time. But those people that jumped all over him and claimed he was making things up, he wasn't making things up. And the interesting part from me and a lot of other reporters that covered this team was that a lot of the stuff had already been reported, and the type A personality, the fact that he was headstrong. We've talked about that dozens of times, Mike. It's nothing new. And then the second part is sort of like common sense. I mean, if you line up 65 people and assume all 65 people are going to get along, well, what world are you living in? Just find the next 65 people you see. You think they're all going to get along? So the assumption that everybody in the Eagles locker room gets along with each other every single minute of every single day is just silly.
Yeah, but it's more about who isn't getting along with him as opposed to the number, right? I mean, we could look at this building and say, yeah, there are 100 people in the building, and sure, 5 people don't like Mike Gill. And if those 5 people work for Cat Country, then
5.
We shouldn't care. But if those 5 people work directly with Mike on a day-to-day basis like Josh and Ryan, then shouldn't that hold more weight than just the number itself?
Well, no, because I mean, I know who Joe's sources are, And I'll tell you right off the bat, one of them likes Carson personally. I know it for a fact.
There's a little guy in that room that likes him that also had a problem with him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. Just because you like someone doesn't mean you're always going to agree with them 100% of the time. I mean, that's just life. So I think it's sort of everything seems to be mutually exclusive these days, and you got to take a camp, whether it's in politics or everything else in society. And that's not the real world. People can get along and still disagree on certain aspects. And I think when you talk about Carson and Mike Groh, I think they get along. And I don't think it's any different. And John DeFilippo talked about this a lot, and Frank Reich talked about this a lot. They went on record and said how headstrong Carson was. I don't know if people weren't listening or weren't reading when we reported that. So what is the difference other than the offense wasn't as good early in the season with Mike as a first-year offensive coordinator? But the headstrong part, it's always been there. It's always going to be there. And if you watch the Super Bowl, I'd rather have the headstrong guy who is a type A, who wants autonomy at the line of scrimmage, than the exoskeleton who doesn't have a brain in his head and is just following instructions. I think history has proven strong personalities work at the quarterback position. Obviously, you need the talent as well. Carson has both.
John, how overblown is this story? I mean, I have a pretty good idea of what you're going to say to that, but my point is, last offseason was interesting because the whole offseason was dominated by Foles Wentz. Now, most likely that's not going to be the case this offseason. But is this type of story going to drag out now up until August into September with, does Carson have the locker room? What type of personality is he? Is he the right leader? Is this going to be now the next 4 or 5 months of our lives?
Well, I think the Eagles made a misstep by being non-inclusive. So now the next time Carson talks, he's going to get the same questions from a whole boatload of other reporters. So they did extend the story farther than it should go, to be honest, by the way they handled it. Is it overblown? Yes, it is. And I just explained the reasons why. I mean, I don't know. You know, people, I say this all the time, people who practice hero worship are destined to be disappointed. Everybody is human. Everybody has failings. Everybody has issues. And Carson Wentz is no different. And the fact that he doesn't get along with player A or player B, and it might not even be getting along. And as we talked with Eitan just a second ago, just don't agree on a particular situation or a particular day. That's life. It's nothing more than that. And it happens in every single NFL locker room. And look at the guy who just won number 6. Is he a type A personality? I mean, people were killing Tom Brady for leaving the field last year after the Super Bowl and not congratulating Nick Foles, people in this town, because he's so competitive. He was so disappointed he lost, and he came off like a sore loser. From the Patriots standpoint, you think they care? I mean, the guy's the greatest quarterback of all time.
John, how much of that personality that you lay out with Carson Wentz does Nick Foles exude? And I ask because I think it's my guess on the outside, you're on the inside, is that it's not as much, and it's not as demanding, and it's not as much energy you expend, I should say, playing alongside Carson as maybe Nick Foles. We've seen the success that Nick has had, but I'm just curious because I wonder if that is the reason why it seems like guys are just a little looser around Nick Foles as compared to Carson Wentz.
Yeah, no, you're right, and the coaching staff as well. If you want to use Brady and Goff as an example, that's what it is. Carson wants autonomy, and when you give him an inch, he wants another inch. Nick wants to be told what to do. And sometimes that's easier. I don't think long-term that's the better way to go. I don't think long-term that's the quarterback to look for. But he is more laid back. He is a guy who is going to run the offense as it's designed. Now, he'll, during the week, and that was the big thing last year before the playoffs. Now it's 2 years ago, but before the Super Bowl run started, he was asked by John DeFilippo, what do you like doing? And the Eagles sort of rebuilt the offense around what Nick is comfortable with. So it's not like he doesn't want to give feedback, but it's not going to be to the extent of Carson Wentz, who wants to do things at the line of scrimmage and believes he can help the team that way. And I think you should always be searching for the next Tom Brady, the next Peyton Manning, the next guy that can do things at the line of scrimmage, because you have such an advantage when you have that. And that was always my biggest indictment. I say it all the time with Chip Kelly. Coaches like Chip Kelly, they don't want Peyton Manning. They don't want Tom Brady. And if that's not an indictment of a coach, I don't know what is.
Hey, John, the offseason's here. The Eagles need to make their decisions. They're going to start doing that. The next thing you know, the mini camps and everything's going to start up. Is Carson Wentz, by your understanding, set and ready to participate in those?
Yeah, he'll be ready to go for off-season work, and that will be a big step forward because obviously you think about last year and coming off the torn ACL and LCL, he didn't have an off-season and didn't start till week 3. Now, there was another example of he was pushing to play week 1. The Eagles were trying to be cautious and waited as long as they felt they could. But he was pushing, and he was pushing and pushing and pushing, and he was upset that he didn't start week 1. And that's just another example of his personality and the way he is as a person. And I don't think any of that is bad.
John McMullen, fresh back from Super Bowl 53, where the New England Patriots again win the Super Bowl, as we know, and next year we'll see. The odds are out. It looks like the Rams, I think, were the favorites, right? We talked about that. Were the Rams the betting favorites for next year? It seems that people think that Goff and McVay are going to have some legs, some longevity in this thing.
Well,
see.
People remember the last thing they see, but then they remember the coach is 66 in New England and the quarterback is 41. So ultimately, the one opponent we all lose to is Father Time, but he keeps forgetting about the Patriots.
No question. It's crazy how they keep rocking and rolling. All right, man. Great coverage from the Super Bowl, and the AAF starts Saturday night.
I'm very excited. Aaron Murray finally gets his chance.
Finally.
We'll see him in a NFL uniform near you soon.
All right, thanks, guys.